Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gail Carson, your host for Women in Business, a show that celebrates women and their accomplishments as entrepreneurs or senior managers. As a woman business owner for over 5 decades, I take great pride in bringing these interviews to you. I also am president of the SOB clubs. So if any of you are interested in joining one in your area, just let us know. Give us an email, let me know, and I'll be glad to let you know if we have one there. My guest today is Colleen Wilson, and what an interesting woman she is. She is president of G&A International Consultants, a Florida-based management consulting firm that specializes in international business development, complex insurance claims, support and strategic business planning for nonprofits and social entrepreneurial enterprises. And most recently, she held the position of vice president and legal counsel for a multinational insurance brokerage firm with headquarters in New York and was based in U.S. Virgin Islands. She was responsible for all legal matters that the corporation faced in the region. Welcome, Colleen. You have had an interesting life.
Hi, Gail. I didn't recognize myself.
Right. I mean, how interesting, because you've lived, I know, all over the world, and you're involved with international law, and now you're based in Florida. So let me ask you, did you always want to be a lawyer?
Actually, no. That was never the first thought on my mind. There were no lawyers in my family, obviously. So I grew up in London, and I was initially enrolled to study information technology. I wanted to become a systems analyst. And I'm going to segue a little bit. I went to a software conference the other day, and I looked at the power of technology compared to when I started back in the 80s. And the mainframe filled an entire room, and that was a function of it in that room. Now you can take your small little tablet and do a million times more than what we could have done back then. So, yeah, I was really enrolled to study IT, and I met someone that was teaching law, and it started from there.
So you grew up in London. Did that
Yes.
influence you at all?
Yes, I would say that it did. Yes, because at the time, we still are a minority, but we were really very small numbers of Caribbean people in the legal profession at the time. So I would say that yes, my social development and my formative years in London certainly did influence my decision. At that time, there were what we're looking at in America right now, the civil rights movement. There were several things going on in England at the time that I was studying law that really changed my viewpoints on many things.
Well, now, you know, you are an international attorney, and that has, since George Clooney married Amal, an international attorney has become very, very chic. So, is that what you set out to become, or did it just happen?
I'm sure for Amal as well, she did not intend that. It just tends to, it's organic. It depends on the type of work that you're doing. It depends on where you end up. You don't actually leave law school and say, well, I didn't and we didn't back then. We're going to become an international lawyer or an entertainment lawyer. In fact, I did entertainment law at one point, but the thing is, we didn't have these modules in college to follow. We were creating them. International law really always existed, but you had to do some form of contracts or immigration to take you into that arena. So it sounds glamorous, and it really is an intellectual way of looking at things rather than in one jurisdiction. You have a much broader vision of how you look at things.
Well, now, what would you say, because you've had such a diverse career, what do you most enjoy about your work?
I would say my clients. Um,
Interesting. That's interesting, because a lot of attorneys, I'm sure, just look at their clients as a client. I mean, nothing
oh no.
special. So what I approach, I do, analytically and so forth. But tell me why your clients make you enjoy things so much.
When your clients come to see you, there is this utmost respect and trust and expectation that you're going to be able to help them to resolve whatever their issue is. And remember, in my perspective, it's usually business clients. So they have an idea where they want to go with their business, but sometimes there are little things, gaps that they have to fulfill under contracts. And you end up having conversations with them, you end up understanding their world, you end up growing, and the relationship grows. Clients are amazing. If you're an attorney and you don't like clients, you're in the wrong business.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, that, of course, brings up the point of why do people go into law in the first place? Do they go into it because they have a love of the law? Do they go into it because they think they're going to become rich? Do they go into it because they have a passion for a particular area of law? I mean, there's a lot of questions there. So, how do you stay grounded?
Ah, that's a good question. I want to go back a little bit and address if I had to go into the law today. I love the series on TV, The Good Wife,
Oh,
and I
yes.
love Shonda Rhimes and all that. And if I was going to be a lawyer, I would believe that's really how it was, but it's not true. So you'd best be passionate about something else if you want to go into the law. How do I stay grounded? First and foremost, I'm a very spiritual person. I do yoga, do lots of walking, I read, I exercise daily. I love to walk on the beach at weekends. I sit, I listen to the ocean, I talk with friends, and I meditate. I take meditation tapes, and I try to stay grounded that way. Because at the end of the day, you are an individual, and if you get caught up with everything that's going on around you, then you're going to be flailing or failing, what's the word, flailing? My list wouldn't get around that word, in the water. And I stay grounded that way.
Well, now you said, people would believe it's like the good wife. Are you saying that uh, most, explain that a little bit more?
Oh, that is an unbelievable life and lifestyle. I mean, she has all the ingredients of sex and interesting clients and espionage and all the things that you probably take the rest of your life to develop is in one show. And she is able to get a client, wrap her wonderful, beautiful designer suit and brain around it in 10 minutes and get to court and articulate the point. No one sees her over the burning the midnight oil, trying to understand what do I have here, what is the law. She suddenly gets all these different aspects of the law and she understands it all. And she's able to turn up in court and look glamorous and her hair is done. I mean, by the time you finish understanding what's in the law books and how you're going to be strategic, you don't have time to comb your hair.
You don't have time for a nap either.
No. And you're running in and you're trying to stay ahead of the game because you have your client. And
So,
so she gets it all in 10 minutes.
well, that's true. That's, I guess, how most TV shows are. But so it sounds like what you're passionate about is your off time, the time you spend with your family, the time you spend uh, re-grounding Colleen, the time you spend, appreciating the world around you, and so forth. Is that on target, or are there other things that you're passionate about?
No, that is so accurate, Gail. And that's how we kind of met because I'm trying to come away from that very tight, critical deadline lifestyle, dog eat dog, to at this stage doing the things that I am passionate about. And top of that list has always been my children, making sure that they become caring, thoughtful, confident, and smart young people. And then, of course, on that list, in no particular order, is my sanity, my spirituality, my relationship with the people around me. And I guess you go through all of that, as you can perhaps be a testament to get to the point now where, it really all didn't matter. You've learned it, you've done it. Okay, am I happy in it? Do I want to stay that way? Would I try to do something else? What am I passionate about? And then you try to fill those passions.
Well, since this is a show about women in business, let's talk about your kids for just a minute. How do you keep them grounded, and how do you find time for them with everything that you're doing? And I'm not sure if you're a single parent or not, but if you are, how do you handle all of that?
Number one, I'm not a single parent, so that
Okay, so you've got
really
support.
helps. I have support. And the most important thing is to have conversations with them, to travel with them, if you're able to, of course, and to be able to influence their mindset, because you're not going to be around for very long. Sooner or later, and I'm at that stage, their peers have more influence. So what I tried to do was to almost plant that seed of how you think, in terms of not think my way, but how you're able to discern right from wrong. And even if I'm not around, you're able to make those judgments. Because no, it doesn't matter what I say. At the end of the day, you're going to be faced with doing it yourself. You're going off to college, which my daughter is right now, and she's going to have to make all those decisions. So you put them first for those moments that you have the time with them, and then everything else you run around and try to fix. A bit like that duck you see on the pond. You know, you
Right.
look at the duck and it's going across, and everything with the duck is so elegant. It's just so graceful. But if you were to get your little glasses on and dive under the water, you'd see their little legs just paddling away ferociously, going furiously, and everything looks good. That's how we function as women.
That's true. And it's interesting because you hope that those times, those quality times that you spend with your kids, that they're not influenced by the peers, because that's where a lot of the problems start, is peers who don't have the background or the parents that that you are, and that's very important. So, how do you cope with challenges? I know there's challenges with your clients. There's challenges at home. There's challenges keeping up with all the latest everything. How do you cope with that?
Okay, number one, there are always going to be challenges. I remember I said to someone once, your life is, you are about to enter into a challenge, you're about to leave a challenge, or a challenge is about to enter. So, whatever you do in life, there's always going to be one. So, what I've learned over the years is not to get too caught up in the small stuff. On a scale of 1 to 10, I ask how important or meaningful is that experience, and that will determine my response. I try to teach that to my children. But right now, as you know, as teens, everything is a big deal. So you cope by really getting out of your own way. And that only comes with experience and maturity. You cannot teach that.
I always have said that if there aren't at least 10 crises in a day, it just hasn't been a full day yet.
There
And
you
I've
go.
learned much better on how to deal and cope with them. As you say, I think as you get older, you worry less and you just, accept as things come along. But um, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much you practice meditation or yoga or anything else. There are going to be challenges during the day. But it is all of those things that Colleen has mentioned that help you deal with all of it. Doesn't make them go away, but it helps them deal with you. So, what would you change about yourself if there was anything you could change?
Nothing.
Nothing. Wonderful. Wow,
Nothing.
that's quite a statement.
Nothing. No, I'm serious about that, because it means that I've done some work on myself. It means that I have taken the time to do some self development and training. It means that I've honestly peeled back and looked at what I've done and realized that I am where I am based on the total of all the experiences that I have had. And I'm also able to say that because when I get into those moments that we just talked about perhaps a little stress here in the environment, if you are not surrounded by like minded friends or who can bring you back, you're going to get lost again. You're going to just fail out, and until someone can tap into the issue and say, "Ho ho, you know the principle. You need to stop, stand back, and pay attention to what's going on." So no, I don't have that bucket list anymore. I just look in the mirror, give thanks to each part of my uh, reflection that I see, and I learn to be tolerant. I was speaking to someone in Australia yesterday, and she basically said to me, that's a friend of mine. Have you ever thought about how you thought you were fat years ago, and now you look at that and you wish you were really that fat now? That's exactly the point.
Well, it's interesting. You're one of the few people who have said that, and I feel the same way, Colleen. People say, "What would you change?" And I say, "Well, I might have done things."